Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. In today's short video we're going to talk about the difference between a spearhead and an offensive line. And the difference between the two is bigger than you may think. We can use the description of the game itself to understand what more or less is different between the two options. As it says, compared to an offensive line, a spearhead will aggressively try to take all provinces as they were there when the order was first painted out, without adjusting to changes. So you should prefer spearheads for encirclements, cut off the enemies, or smaller thrusts into the enemy territory. Now, for our test today, we're going to use Germany at the beginning of the war against Poland for our first push. Our goal is to conquer the capital of Poland and all of this front that I marked here along this river. We are going to try to do this with an offensive line and with a spearhead and see what the difference is. We are ready to start, so I will start our push. Remember that this is a spearhead. We are starting on the 15th of November. Let's see how long it takes to conquer these territories. Now, one of the big differences that we can see right away is that with a spearhead, the tanks will just push no matter what. They will not wait for reinforcements to come, so some of your tiles may be temporarily without reinforcements. Now, in this case, and I always do this when I push with tanks, I assign motorized companies behind them so that they can quickly cover the front. But if you were doing this with tanks and infantry, the infantry might struggle, as you can see here. You know, this guy is trying to reach the front, but he's remaining behind. Only motorized and tanks were able to cover the front. So the infantry will struggle to reach the front lane. Look at this, for example. Nobody currently is protecting this area. So now the enemies don't have anyone here, but our tanks are just pushing as fast as possible, and they are not waiting for the reinforcements to cover the front. Only a few days and Warsaw is already down. And I would say that this is, well, let's wait for them to conquer this place as well. This is more or less the spearhead order that I gave them. So it is the 23rd of November, we started on the 15th, so it took us 8 days to complete the offensive order, or better, the spearhead order that I gave my tanks. Now, I would like you to pay attention to a couple more things. Look at how closely the tanks followed the spearhead order. For our spearhead, we used this river as the border, and as you can see, they conquered exactly the area next to the river and nothing else. Okay, now we can compare it with an offensive line. Now, we are starting exactly on the same day with the same exact setup. Also, we have the planning bonus and everything, but this time, instead of a spearhead, I used an offensive line. Same exact order. Let's see what happens now. Now, as you can see, this tank, after conquering this tile, is not moving. It is waiting for reinforcements to arrive before continuing its push. Now that the reinforcements are here, they are starting to advance again. Now, currently, only one of our tanks is pushing, and look at that, it's not even pushing in the area where I told them to push. It's actually pushing here in the mountains. If you compare it to the previous push, you will notice that earlier we only pushed along the river, and we didn't even push the mountains. As we proceed, you will see that the difference is even bigger than this. It's already the 22nd of November, and on the 23rd we managed to conquer all of the front that we assigned. On the 23rd, in this case, we only conquered Warsaw, so we are way behind in time. Now, another thing that I would like you to notice is that our tanks are actually pushing up here in the area of Danzig, and that's not a command that we gave them. We actually told them to push along the river line, but for some reason they decided to push up here as well. And we're finally getting closer to the area that I told them to conquer. But again, as you can see, our tank decided to push over the river, so to extend further the offensive order that I gave them. Okay, I would say we can stop at this point. We did conquer the area I told them to conquer, but as you can see, the difference compared to the earlier order I gave them is massive. Now, in addition to taking much longer, it's now the 29th of November, it was the 23rd in the case of a spearhead, you can see how our tanks pushed much more and in other directions compared to before. While earlier they carefully followed the river banks, in this case they pushed much further than the river. Up here they pushed in an area in which we didn't even give them a command to push. Now, does this mean that the spearhead is better than the offensive line? I don't think so. This push is actually fairly good, and we are much closer to winning the war in this case than we were with the spearhead order. So the offensive line is not bad. Another thing must be said, I'm using tanks, I'm using Germany, this is a blitzkrieg tactic. Of course, this is the kind of situation that benefits Spearhead the most. Now, when you have a bigger front and you're pushing with your infantry along the entire front line, then the offensive line is most likely going to be the right choice for you. I do like Spearheads a lot for what it says it's good at, so blitzkriegs, brief and small thrusts into the enemy territory, but I feel like with Spearheads you can control a bit better what your units are actually going to do. They are not going to push more, further, or on other fronts compared to the ones in which you want them to push. So do not skip on Spearheads, they are extremely useful tools. You can use them to better manage your units. Of course you want to use them when you have tanks, but they may be useful even with your infantry when you're going for smaller pushes in some parts of the front line, rather than pushing the entire front all at once. That's all for today's comparison. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.